I think this micro, oh, it does go through. All right. Amber and Amy actually don't have a whole lot to do with the presentation. They're here just kind of helping out. So Amber's going to write a few things on the board. To get started, I'd just like to, by show of hands, who here has not heard of Lovesac? 1, 2. Okay, we got a few. Great. If I could get you to come up. Do you have a second? Doing anything? You busy? Should you come up here for a second? Where are you from?
California.
California. What's your name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. This is a Lovesac. Just go ahead and fall into it. What do you think? Kick your feet up. You might want to turn this down just a little bit because I get pretty loud. What do you think? Not too bad? Is it what you thought it'd be? Is it any different? Is it kind of what you expected?
I didn't know.
Didn't know? Any comments on the product?
It's soft.
Think it's soft? All right, good enough. Thanks a lot. You got it? All right, who else? Who else hadn't heard of it? Liar. Come on up. And then we'll get a, you hadn't either, so we'll get a woman's opinion. All right. Okay, I'll fluff it for you. This is kind of the experience you get when you go to the store. Look at this service, man. Fall in. Kick your feet up. There you go. I just want you to observe. I want all of you to observe just their reaction, all right? So just make sure you pay attention on through. All right, thanks a lot. All right, and you. Who are you? Where are you from?
My name is Rebecca. I'm from Wisconsin.
Excellent. I didn't ask him. I wasn't interested. Sorry. Just kidding. Forgot. Rebecca, have a seat. What do you think?
Squishy.
Kind of squishy? All right. Don't worry. You don't have to compliment it. I just, you know. Yeah, you kind of fell back into it weird. But anyway. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. What did we notice about the reactions? Can anyone tell me some observations? They relaxed. It's very simple. Everybody smiled. There you go. That's exactly what I wanted, believe it or not, and I didn't even plant him in the audience. Every time I do this, and I do this quite a bit now, believe it or not, get the same reaction. Everybody that sits in a Lovesac for the first time smiles. Whether they, you know, even if they just hear the name for the first time. You know, like, you know, you say the Lovesac and you either, you know, you have some sort of a dirty thought or a funny thought or you think it's cute or whatever. But it makes you smile, and the product makes you smile. And it was at that moment that I finally realized there's a business here. And I'm going to tell you today, my speech is entitled Business Backwards. And I'm going to tell you very simply my story, just kind of how this thing came about. Now, believe me, from the very outset, this thing is as simple as it gets. It's a bag full of foam. It's not rocket science. I don't pretend to be some sort of genius. Okay, it is what it is. And it's evolved into something great. Right now, Lovesac has almost 50 stores nationwide. And we'll probably do about $30 million in revenue this year. And that's after about 2-3 years in business, growing about 300%, and it's not going to stop. And I hopefully, as I tell my story, and at the end I do a summary of just where Lovesac is going, I'll help you understand that. Because believe me, at first glance, it's the dumbest thing ever made. And I fully admit that. And so here's kind of what happened. On the board, oh, will you write those? Or
It's dead.
The
We're waiting
marker's
for
dead?
another one.
All right.
We'll get that.
On the board, there are going to appear 4 things. And this is basically the, here, let me have that just for a second. No, in your head. This is basically the premise for Business Forwards, okay? This is what you learn in business school. This is what probably half the people in this room are learning right now. Number 1 is to create a business plan, right? In fact, there's a competition right now. That's how you start a business, right? You create a business plan, you tell what the product's going to be, you tell what the team is going to be, what the business model is, and what the exit are. Step 1. What's step 2? How do you start a business?
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that. Get funding. Exactly. That's exactly what's on my list. Get funding. Number 3, I have be what you are, you know, give your reports and strive for greater market share. All right? And that's just kind of what the business does. And number 4, which is the last step in real business, is really to make, manage, sell, or do. Here you go. Make, manage, sell, or do. Now, I'll let you guess what my whole premise started with. I was 17 years old, extremely bored, just graduated from high school. I'm going to move very fast, by the way, so good luck keeping up. 17 years old, very bored, summer day. I'm sitting next to my girlfriend on the sofa. We're watching TV, and there's about 10 feet of space between me and the TV, and it just popped in my head. You can call it inspiration, you know, you can call it dumb luck, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but I just had this thought, and I pictured in my mind this enormous beanbag on the floor. I said, let's make a huge beanbag. And you know, my girlfriend, knowing the impulsive, creative weirdo that I was at that time, she's like, fine. And so I turn off the TV, get in the car, drive down by 14 yards of pleather, because of course that's what you make big beanbags out of, right? Naugahyde kind of stuff. And I brought it back home, looked at a baseball. That looked like a good way to make a sphere. Laid it on the floor, cut out 2 big long figure 8s, gave it to my girlfriend and said, you know, could you sew this, please? And she said, sure. Took it home, brought it back, sewed it up. And now I had this big gelatinous, thing to fill. And so I'm looking around the house looking for stuff that's soft. You know, I didn't want to spend any money on this, heaven forbid. So, you know, I first dig in the closet. I find those camping mattresses. You know, the ones we all grew up with bungee cord wrapped around their yellow foam. Took those out, took out my mom's cutting board, started chopping it up. You know, turn it this way, chopped it up, shoved them in there. I chopped up like 4 or 5 of those mattresses, and the thing is still like totally empty. And so I'm going, oh man, this is going to be harder than I thought. So I go down and I buy some beanbag beads. I pour the beanbag beads in. They kind of blow everywhere. You know how they do that? And blow everywhere. I'm trying to vacuum them up. They're sticking in the vacuum, and I'm totally, you know, done with beanbag beads already. So now I'm looking around for other soft stuff. My mom does Amway. You know, I'm dumping all the packing peanuts from all the boxes into this thing. I'm straightening up newspaper. I got those blankets that they have in cheap motels that are like kind of, you know, like you move too fast and they spark, you know, with the static. I'm chopping those up, putting those in there. I mean, everything I could find that was even remotely soft. Thanks, Amber. And basically, you know, this is my first step, really, in my little take on business backwards. Is, number 1, is to do. This is what I did. So I actually got off my butt. See, I think that man's greatest obstacle in life is a physical truth that extends to the ends of the universe, and that is called inertia. Okay? Objects at rest will remain at rest somehow until acted upon by an outside force. And I'll tell you, if you'll just simply do anything. Every day I get these people, because the funny part is I'm 27 years old. I have this business, right, that's this multi-million-dollar whatever, and they come up to me and they want to know all of a sudden, you know, they're putting me in magazines and they're writing stories and they want to know what's my secret to success and all these things. And so it's made me reflect a lot on it. And honestly, I get all these people that come up to me and they say, I've got this idea and I've got this idea and man, if someone would just do this, and they talk. And that's all they ever do is talk. And I'm telling you, if you're willing to do anything as stupid as getting off your butt and making a beanbag, something might come of it. And that's exactly what happened. What happened was I started using this thing. I went to the drive-in movies. I went to Lake Powell. We'd take it camping. And it seemed like everywhere I went, I had the same experience. What did people do when they sat down? They smiled, you know, they laughed. They said, oh, this thing is so cool. Where'd you get this thing? And I'd be like, well, I made it. It took me 3 weeks, and I'm sure as heck not going to make another one. And this went on for like 8 months. And then finally, I turned 19. I'm Mormon. I go on a mission. I go to Taiwan. Take it was still just a beanbag back then. Put it under the deck. Forgot about it. Went on a mission to Taiwan and had a great time. Learned Chinese. Worked hard. Just, you know, and I said this earlier. A mission is honestly just business 101. The way it's organized, the way it's run, the work, the ethic, the whole thing. Everything you ever need to learn about business principles, honestly, you probably already learned. And anyway, it's a great experience. Come back from a mission, forgotten about the beanbag thing, and started dating again. And this is now in 1998. And I started dating again, and one night we're going to the drive-in. So of course it pops in my head, oh yeah, I've got this beanbag thing. I grab my neighbor and he helps me yank it out from underneath the deck, and we pull it out, and it's kind of moldy, you know, it's been sitting there for 2 years. Wipe the thing off, throw it in the back of the truck, go to the drive-in movies, and instantly everyone there all of a sudden says the same thing. You know, oh, where can I get one of these? Would you make me one? I said, no way. This went on for 6 months. People bantering. You know, I'd go to Lake Powell. I'd go everywhere I went. My neighbors want one now. Their neighbors' friends want one. My cousins want one. Everyone who's come to my house wants one of these. So finally, you know, I'm a student at the University of Utah, totally full-time. I'm on scholarship up there. I'm actually a pretty serious student, even though I never probably appear to be. But I was very serious about school, and I was working as a cell phone salesman to pay the bills, and date and everything else. And I finally had so many people bugging me that I said, okay, all right, I'll make you one. But if I'm going to make one or two or three, then I'm going to start a business, because it's funny. I mean, who starts an enormous beanbag business? Honestly, who does that? And so I just decided to start a business, and of course I needed a name. And I was sitting there bored out of my mind at a cell phone kiosk, trying to meet my quota, working for the man, and I'm thinking, okay, I want something that's retro, love, peace, hate, war, 60s, and bag. And the only word for bag is sack, and so love, peace, hate, war, sack, love, sack sounded good. That's it. Registered it. And honestly, the name, totally, despite my own accidental involvement, is absolutely genius. And probably by the end of this, you'll figure out why. But it's very simple. It's 7 letters. Yeah, it's a cute little name, and it seemed like a good thing. So I went down, paid my 20 bucks. I'm a business owner. You want to start a business, you're an entrepreneur, go start a business tomorrow. It costs 20 bucks. It's open till 5. Go to the Utah State Cax Mission, buy a name. And that's what I did. Went down, bought a name, started making, and I sold the first 3 of them on my mom's sewing machine. On about the 3rd one, because it's this big, thick, pleather stuff, about the 3rd one, the machine starts smoking and he gives up the ghost. And my mom is pretty upset, but I press on, and I find these neighborhood ladies who would sew them for me, for like 10 bucks a bag or whatever. And I started making them. And I sold one to my neighbors and one to their friends, and pretty soon I had all these orders. And so I asked, of course, who everyone asked to be their first business partner, who is their best friend, and I said, hey, come help me do this. I'll give you a piece of the company. We're not going to pay ourselves, though, anything, because we don't have any money. And it seems like every time we get any money, we have to just go buy more fabric to make more of these things. So we'll do this, and if it ever goes big, I'll give you a piece. So I got a couple of my friends involved. And the first 3, I'm cutting by hand. I go down to this. Now you're going to learn more about foam and fabric and manufacturing than you ever wanted to know, but I promise you there's a point to it. Promise. And so I go down to this little manufacturing place in Salt Lake on 600 West. And they make sofas, and I go in there, and I knew that they had foam, because I called them up and I said, when you make a sofa, do you get scrap foam? They said, sure. We cut it out, the foam falls down, we bag it up, and we sell it back to the foam guys. So I said, great, I want to buy your foam. They said, fine. And so I go down and pick up a bag, 15 cents a pound at the time, take it home, cut it on the chopping board, spend a week, make a love sack for $100 or something, and it was killing me. And so I'm about my 5th visit down there, picking up these bags of foam in my Bronco. I asked the guy, I go, do you have any way to shred this stuff up? Oh, sure, we have a shredder right back here. Ask a lot of questions. I always ask a lot of questions. So I start using their shredder. They charge me extra 5 cents. They just let me use it because they thought it was funny. And they hadn't used this thing in like 20 years. What it was is a grain grinder. Okay, it's a farm implement. It's powered by a very small tractor. Only, they had an electric motor hooked up to it, and it has a small mouth, and so you have to take these big scraps and take kitchen knives and cut them into strips so they can fit in the mouth, and throw it in there and step back, and it shakes them around and shreds just these big metal arms, and it spits the foam out into a love sack. Now it only takes me an hour to make a big super sack. Now I think, man, I'm in business, So we start making them. We go to every home show, boat show, car show, Oktoberfest, whatever fest we could find. Get a 10x10 booth, start selling love sacks, and we were starting to sell them by the dozens. But our first year we did $25,000 in revenue, which may sound like a lot to a college student, but it's nothing. I mean, in business, it's nothing, because most of that was fabric and foam, And then every 4th sack we'd make, we'd tear trying to load it into our 1979 Dodge van that had rusted metal parts, and they didn't have covers then like these ones do, and so we'd have to redo it, and it was just totally frustrating. So finally, this went on for about a year, and over a year, like year and a half, and I finally looked at my friends after a year and a half of this. We'd done like $40,000 in revenue, and I said, I'm done. I'm about to graduate from school now. I have 1 semester left. I just got this internship. Someone called me from China. They want me to come over and work, and and this is totally prepare my future, because I speak Chinese. I'm in business, and I said, we never paid ourselves a dime. I mean, we didn't pay a cell phone bill. We didn't have anything. We just worked out of this back room, and so I said, you guys, I'm out of here. I said, I just can't. This is a joke, and And everyone kept telling me, you really ought to do something with this, Shawn. It's really cool. I love my love sack. And like, yeah, I know they're cool. You know they're cool, but I mean, come on. And so I took off. I took the internship to China. I told my friends, I said, if this company's here in a year when I get back, maybe we'll do something with it. I just hoped that they'd disappear. And so flew off to China, took this job as a management training consultant, and ended up teaching these high-level courses in leadership and team building, and I got really good at what I did. It was just a skill of mine. I taught presentation skills. I taught all of these different courses to these, McDonald's, Roche, Siemens, Whirlpool, Honeywell, all of these huge multinationals in Shanghai, China. It's flying all over the country, wearing a suit. I mean, it was awesome. And I was made actually the head of their training department. And then when I left, was invited back to come help the owner run the company. And I mean, I was 22 years old. And so I was like, man, this is golden, I've gotten locked in. And so I came home to finish my last semester of school and then go back. And I get back home, and in my parents' basement are my friends still working on the same order that they were working on when I left. It was this order for Red Bull energy drink, ordered a few. And so, but see, that was the trick. I knew that, see, Red Bull loved these things because they were able to take them to their events with their tents, put them in there, and then people would just flock to the Red Bull tent to hang out, And so I thought, maybe there is something here. And so I started asking around. I said, where can I get these love sacks in front of other businesses that would buy them? And my printer said, well, I go to this show called ASI, and that's where basically anything that has a logo on it, everything in the BYU bookstore is made by an ASI company. Okay, like the product itself. Then they stamp the logo on it, and that's an ASI company. So I decided, okay, we'll be an ASI company. I pay my $1,000, credit card $1,000, credit card $3,000 in brochures, credit card 3 trips to Chicago to this big trade show, 10 by 10 booth, fly out there, get some love sacks out there, a banner up in our booth, and here we are. We're Lovesack. And this brings me to my second point in business backwards. Instead of being what you are, because what you are, what was I? What was I at this point? I was a basement college student, right? Manufacturing beanbags himself. Poor as a church mouse. This is a Shawnism that I live by. And you can take it for what you want. Be what you will be, not what you are. I went to this Chicago trade show, and I was the biggest beanbag manufacturer in the world. And we could do anything. So we show up, and we have all these people that are interested. We have, Budweiser, Barnes and Noble, all these companies that are interested in putting their logo here. The Utah Jazz, whatever. Put your logo here, kind of thing. And we had all this interest, but then the show was over, and no one bought anything, and we fly back home to Salt Lake, and I was now $4,000 in debt, and about to graduate from college, and didn't think much of it. Thought, oh well, it didn't work, and I was kind of glad because now I was validated. Okay, aha, see, it didn't work. Now I can quit and go do something else. My phone rings as I'm working down at the little Love Sack factory, finishing an order or two. My phone rings, and it's this guy. He's from the Limited 2. The Limited Corporation? The Limited 2 is a little store for little girls. They sell pink and purple stuff for little girls' clothing and bedroom. And he says, I want 12,000 of your love sacks in 5 months for this price and out of this fabric. And he FedExed me a piece of fabric. And of course, I, on the other end of the phone, in this back room of this little furniture company, Love Sack corporate headquarters in my pocket, said, sure, this is what we do. We're the best beanbag manufacturer in the world. No problem. Hang up. And I took the order. I mean, until anything was signed, it didn't matter anyway. So I start. I get this piece of fabric in the mail, and I start calling all my fabric guys, right, who were selling me fabric. And I called them all, and I couldn't get a hold of any of them. And I get their secretaries, and I said, well, where's Joe? Where is everybody? And they said, well, he's in High Point, North Carolina. It's the largest fabric show in the country. It's Thursday at noon, by the way, at this point. I'm down in the little factory, and it ends tomorrow. And so I said, oh. So I hang up the phone, drive straight to the airport, buy a plane ticket, last flight out to Raleigh, North Carolina, rent a car, sleep overnight, rent a car, get up in the morning, buy a shirt, tuck it in, walk through 6 stories of a huge fabric trade show. Again, being being Shawn Nelson from the Love Sack, company or whatever. And I'm walking around, and I've got all these guys trying to sell me fabric, and I'm just looking for this purple fuzzy fabric with little silver specks in it, because that's what they sent me. And I'm looking all over, and honestly, I could not find it. I'm looking at fabrics from Korea and China and the Middle East and in Argentina, and I cannot find this fabric. And I'm like, if I can't find it here, you know. And I know it's cliche, but end of the day, Friday afternoon, the show's closing up. I'm on the bottom floor. I'm looking at like the last few booths and like, oh, you know, a bolt out of heaven. There is a roll of purple fuzzy fabric with little silver specks in it. And I'm like, no way. And so I go up to the guy, and I need it now for $2.50 a yard because I've got to meet the limited price point. See, big companies like that, you don't quote them a price. They just tell you what they're going to pay you, and then you have to try and, you know, make it. And so I go to the guy. I said, I want this fabric. He says it's $5. I said, I'll buy 30,000 yards of it. He says, you know, well, okay, best I can do is $4. Look, I get it straight from China. You know, it's the best you're going to do. And so, you know, I'm like, well, what was I thinking anyway? What was I thinking? How was I even going to buy the fabric, you know? And so I'm about to give up again. And I'm about to give up, and I'm looking around this guy's booth, and he's got all these boxes, these sample boxes, right? And they're for all his fabrics, and they're all written in Chinese with the address of the mill, you know, on the box. So I'm like, well, what the heck? I get on a plane, credit card, a flight to Shanghai, go to Shanghai, China, walk in the 16th floor of this office building, shake the hand of Mr. Yang. I say, hey, Mr. Yang, I'm Shawn, and I'm here representing the Limited 2, and I need 30,000 yards of this stuff. And he says, okay, you know, it's $3 or $3.50 or something. And, but see, he never asked if I spoke Chinese, and out of courtesy, I just, you know, spoke English because it's actually in some ways more polite. And so, and I just sat there, and for 3 days, I watched he and his vice president of sales argue back and forth in Chinese in front of me about their margins on this fabric. So I just camped out there for 3 days, you know, waiting for him to come down. And sure enough, they, you know, because I knew what their margins were, and so they came down to $2.50, and you know, I shook their hands, said they had a deal. I'd go back, I'd get on my cell phone, call America. I talked to the Limited. I said, all right, I'll do the deal, but I need a deposit. They said, we don't do deposits. I said, I twisted their arm. They gave me $60,000. They wired it to me. I wired it to Mr. Yang. And now I had spent $60,000 of the Limited Corporation's money, and I fly back to America to my parents' basement. So, and this brings me to my third point. How many in this room have ever felt the pressures of being in debt? How many has ever been in debt? Now, of course, we're at BYU, and the church advises against, you know, getting into debt. And so again, this is business backwards. In fact, I should have given you the disclaimer up front. What I'm going to tell you today is very much not advised at all. It's very simply the honest truth. And so, but I will tell you this, and this is definitely a principle. And I wouldn't really, what does it feel like to be in debt? What does it feel like? You're trapped. It consumes your thoughts. Yeah, you don't get to spend your money the way you want. Now look, I'm not really promoting being in debt, but I will say this. And this is another little Shawnism. Embrace economic pressure. Economic pressure spawns more creativity and more ingenuity than any other force on the planet. On this earth, economic pressure drives a lot of things. Now, economic pressure can come in a number of forms. And this is really my first little caveat here. Work for free. I believe in working for free, and I believe in getting others to work for you for free. And there's a reason for that. It's rooted in service and love and devotion and loyalty, and I'll let you figure the rest out for yourself. But I believe in working for free. Now, I had spent $60,000 of the Limited 2's money. And you know, I was feeling some pressure to do what? To do the deal, to finish the deal. Now, what did I have to do? I had to build a factory. I had to buy 5 truckloads of compressed baled scrap foam. I had to run a factory of about 20 people, I figured, to grind up all the foam and stuff it into these empty love sacks. What China was going to do was they were going to mill the fabric, cut the fabric, sew the fabric, you know, put the cute little logo on it and ship it to me. And so now I'm in America, penniless. But the cool thing was I was 22 years old. And at 22 years old, what happens? Only down here. Took me 27. All right. 22 years old, you get all these credit card offers. That's what happens. It's like you've somehow, you know, it's like a rite of passage, right? And so I get all these credit card offers, and I am home from China, I have this pile of them. So I go ahead and just fill all of them out, send them all out. And unbeknownst to each other, all these creditors are issuing me all this credit, right? They send them all back. I have like $50,000 at my disposal. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so I go out and I build I go down and I go to my furniture buddies. I said, I need a warehouse. They said, oh yeah, we got a warehouse. It turns out they had they own the oldest warehouse in Utah, practically. Okay, that's still standing. It's built in like 1890. I'm serious. It's a cinder block thing with suspended wood floors above a cement basement. It's about 7,000 feet. It's perfect, And so I got a cash advance, paid them $1,000. I'm in, and now there's like an inch of dirt. It hasn't been inhabited for like 20 years, and so and I'm the only one of my friends at this point, my partner, so to speak, who's out of college. I just graduated with my 2 degrees from the U, and so I'm full time, and so I hose the thing out. It takes me a week just to get the place cleaned out. I go down to Home Depot, start credit carding wood and more wood, and I build all these tables, right, so that we can manufacture. I needed all these tables. Like I need a huge stuffing table that we were going to dump all the foam onto that we shredded up, and then we're going to cut holes in it and hook the love sacks to the bottom and stuff by hand. And then the idea was to zip up the love sacks and kick them over and blow them off with blowers, and then vacuum them off, clean them off, then kick them over to the other side of the room, put them in plastic bags. We had invented this. We've actually patented it. This patented shrinking technology where we hook a vacuum up to the plastic bag, we suck it down to 1/8 its original size, which has really never been done in furniture. Shrink it down to 1/8 its original size, twist it up, put it in a cute little limited 2 box, put their barcode on it, put them on pallets, and ship them off to Ohio. And so that was the idea, right? And I basically credit carded my way all the way to that point. And I had all the pieces in place, but I needed a way to shred the foam. And this is where it gets interesting. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna buy a bunch of these little grain grinders, right? These farm implement things, and we're gonna put them all on a line and get a bunch of temp laborers in there. And it'll be dangerous, and we'd already lost a part of a thumb, but it'll be all right. We'll be careful. And so that was the idea. And so I drive 3 hours to Roosevelt, Utah, right? And rock chips in the window, and get up there. And there's this farmer named Bruce, this big farm equipment place. And I'm looking for a grain grinder. Sure enough, he has one. I'm about to buy it on credit card, and I say, I need like 4 more. And before I did that, I said, do you have anything else that shreds stuff up? Oh yeah, this farmer guy. So check this out. Walks over, and he's got this thing called a hay buster. Has anyone seen a hay buster? Anyone in this room seen a hay buster? You have. What's a hay buster?
It'll take the original bales.
Yeah.
And just shred them with it.
Describe the thing.
Well,
What does it look like?
I was little when I saw it, but it just got.
And you'd feel little if you saw another one. Now here's the thing. Hay buster is like 10 feet tall, right? It's this big metal bucket. It's like 10 feet in diameter, and it spins, right? And the bottom of it is these huge rotating, they're not even blades, they're just big metal arms, right? They just beat the crap. I mean, basically, if you want to throw this chair, you want to throw this podium in there, you can throw the podium in there. It grinds up 2x4s and small cars and small children, and whatever else you put in this. And so, we're impressed, this is cool. So he's like, yeah, no problem. So we're like, okay, we'll be back, Bruce. We drive back down 3 hours, get a bag of our scrap foam, drive back up 3 hours. The next day, he backs his big John Deere. I mean, this thing is powered by a full-size tractor. Backs his big John Deere tractor up, hooks it up to the hay buster, connects the two, with the PTO, and cranks it up. And he says, "Okay, normally this thing runs at 1,000 RPMs, but after he saw what we wanted to grind, he's like, we'll just put it at 300. I mean, it's just foam, So we back up and we cranks the thing up to 300. We throw it up the foam. It goes down in the bucket and just kills the hay buster. And Bruce was pretty taken back. He'd never seen that before. And he's like, wow, what he didn't expect is that foam wraps around things and stretches and binds, and 2x4s break, and so he didn't count on that. And so he was a bit upset, but we said, we'll be back tomorrow with more foam. And so we go back down, and meanwhile his guys are in there digging the foam out of these big, huge blades, trying to clean it up. We drive back up 3 more hours, and this time we had another bag of foam. This time he takes it seriously. He cranks the thing up to 1,000 RPMs. We throw the thing up in there. It goes in. It hits the blades at 1,000 RPMs. Shreds it up and spits it all over this guy's foam. Now he's got foam blowing through his weeds, his alfalfa, and he is really not very happy at this point. But he wanted to make a sale, and we were like we were done. We were like, oh man, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. But we decided to try one more time, so we drive back down. We get another bag of foam. 3 hours down, 3 hours back up, and Bruce at this time, there's still foam blowing through his weeds the next day. And there's 2,000 miles on the car later, and This time we had the idea, let's take a blue tarp and we'll take those orange clips, right, from Home Depot. We'll clip the tarp to the top. We'll put the foam in there away from the blades. We'll crank the machine up. The foam will come around, hit the blades, and we'll see what happens. So this is what we did. We fired the thing up. It went around, got in the blades. The whole machine's shaking at 1,000 RPMs, and you know, we're hoping it won't break. And all of a sudden, foam just starts spitting out of the conveyor belt. And me and my buddy are like kissing each other. And so, you know, I give him my credit card, buy a $10,000 hay buster. I mean, it's supposed to be $100,000, but it's 30 years old, right? So it's totally rusted. So I buy a $10,000 hay buster, credit card it, buy a $10,000 John Deere tractor, buy it on a farm loan, because you know, it has all these great, you get these farm loans for really cheap. Anyway, buy this John Deere tractor on a farm loan. Flatbed the whole thing down to Salt Lake, get it in the warehouse. The hay buster's on that wood floor. It nearly like falls to the floor, but we get it into position. The problem is the tractor's got to stay outside, right? Hay buster's now 4 feet off the ground in a dock-high warehouse, and the tractor's on the ground. And they got to connect. And so we basically bribed they were building the street at that time on 600 West. We bribed the little street guy with the earth mover. And we hook him up, and he pushes all the dirt from the street in front of our warehouse, in front of our dock door. So now we're able to back this tractor up onto this big mound of dirt, hook it up to the hay buster, and boom, we're in business. So the hay buster is going to dump all this foam out onto this table. All of our little temp laborers are going to sit there and fill these things. And basically on September 1st, 2001, 2 ocean containers show up at our warehouse door. I had my buddies, working with me part-time. They were still in school, but they were helping out. I had all these temp laborers showing up who really didn't speak any English, looking for libsack, and this little piece of paper, and I'm trying to, teach them how to shred up foam and not get killed and drive. I needed a forklift to finish the thing, and I was maxed out. I was $50,000 in debt at this point. 22 years old. I go to my dad. I said, Dad, I've never asked you for anything, but I need a break here. All I need left is a forklift. And so he helped me buy his $8,000. It came complete with a promissory note with interest that I would pay back by this date, and I did, in fact. But anyway, got this forklift in the house. We would load the foam with this big clamp into the hay buster, and that was the idea. And it was supposed to run smooth. We were going to do 500 pieces a day, and we could get done by the middle of October, which was the date they requested. So we get the first truckload of foam in, and we're about to start production. It turns out I get a phone call. The largest foam facility in the country just burnt down. And now the price of foam as a commodity doubled. And so all the profit that I built into this deal from the beginning is now gone on day one. So I knew that I would be working for free. And in fact, I wouldn't pay myself or really anyone else except for the laborers. And but you don't think I was devoted? You don't think I felt, having spent $60,000 of their money and $60,000 of my own money, that I didn't feel the pressure? I mean, so I was going to get done. Fired it up. First day, we were supposed to do 500 a day. First day, we cranked out 30 pieces. Between jamming the hay buster and reaching down in there to get the foam out every 10 minutes, and our arms would be just bloody by the end of the day, like all the way up to here, just because we had to reach down to these blades and try and get the foam out. And it was a bloody mess. It was awful. And but we were jamming the machine. Vacuums were catching on fire. We'd shrink them down, get them into boxes. The boxes were breaking because the vacuum was. I mean, it's just a mess. It was a mess. And needless to say, we had to run double shifts. More of the profit just gone. And so this was a typical day for me in September of 2001. In fact, September 11th happened, and I didn't even honestly know about it. I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning, drive down the factory in my little 4Runner, put 4 gas cans in the back, drive to Phillips 66, fill them up with diesel fuel, get it all over my feet in the process typically. Drive to the factory, get up on the tire of the tractor, try and dump them in. Now I'm covered in diesel fuel by 6 in the morning, from head to toe. And starting the tractor with a can of starting fluid every morning and get the thing going finally. By 6, the Mexican temp laborers and every other country temp laborers were in there working. And I was trying to stumble my way through it. And by the end of the day, we had done a few hundred. And anyway, did that from 6 till 4 in the afternoon, and then from 5 until 1, ran a night shift, and then slept at the factory and woke up and did it again. And that was my life. It's fun to run a business, isn't it? But through it all, this is my second caveat to embracing economic pressure. This is another Shawnism. There is always a way. All right, there is always a way. We completed the deal on October 15th, 2001. Shut the doors on the last truck. I was now $50,000 in debt, owned some farm equipment on loans, had a few now full-time employees, and no customers because I hadn't been out selling. I was emotionally and physically and mentally just destroyed. I was just done. I mean, I was collecting all the bills, trying to twist the limited's arm to pay us on time so I could buy more foam and complete the deal and pay my people. And I mean, I was just done. I was totally done. And my cousin came to me, this undying optimist. He says, you know, Shawn, I can sell these things. Let's go out and do this. And so he sets up an appointment with R.C. Willey. We go to R.C. Willey. They laugh at us. They told us they sell like 10 bean bags a month, and it's not even worth them, you know, the time it would take to listen to us. We go to American Furniture Warehouse. You know, we're like, it's not a bean bag. You know, we shrink them down. You can stock all these in your back room and all these things. And, you know, they laugh at us and tell us they don't want it. So we get back to Salt Lake feeling totally dejected. You know, it's an 8-hour drive to Colorado, American Furniture Warehouse. And, but again, you know, we had this economic pressure just driving us. And so Trey says, you know what, if the limited can sell them, we can sell them. Let's open a store. Let's open a mall store. I said, are you crazy? You know what the rent is in those places. And he's like, you know, I don't care. Let's go do it. And so he goes to the Gateway, which was under wraps at that point in Salt Lake, and no one knew what it was. It's dining or shopping or what. He goes there and, you know, he pitches. He says, you know, here we are. And, you know, Gateway laughed at him. They're like, you know who we're Abercrombie, The Gap, Banana Republic, and you're who? And you want to sell, well, not bean bags, but, you know, we want to sell shirts with our logo on. And, you know, it's like, right. And so they kicked us out. Go to the Crossroads Mall in Salt Lake. They teased us with a space, and then they gave it to the Christian Science reading room over us. And so on October 31st, 2001, finally, we get a phone call. I'm at lunch with Trace, my cousin, and we get a phone call. It's Tracy James from the Gateway. And he says, look, guys, I'm going to make you the deal of a lifetime. What he didn't say is that basically the Gateway was empty. I mean, it wasn't empty, but it had some empty spots. And the Olympics were coming, and cameras were coming, and their opening day was coming, and they needed to look good. So he says $1,000 a month, and just give us 10% of whatever you sell, and I'll kick you out in March after the Olympics are over. And so we said, well, it's better than nothing. Yes, Tracy said. So we go in. As we're leaving his office, signing the lease, he says, look, guys, just please do a professional display. Don't throw a bunch of beanbags on the floor. So, you know, we decided now we're going to max out Tracy's credit cards, and we are going to, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to look like a chain store. So we get the carpet, the posters, the paint, the music, everything, and we look like a chain store. We open the doors on November 17, 2001, and just hoping that people wouldn't laugh at us. We just wanted to sell 1 sack a day. It would pay the rent. We'd calculate. We'd finally get to pay ourselves $5 an hour if we worked in the store 12 hours a day. And so it was great, right? This was like the light at the end of the tunnel. We opened the doors. A month, 5 weeks into it, we had done $120,000 in sales. We were out of every T-shirt, every hoodie, every love sack, every cover, everything on Christmas Eve. We had a line out the door. Our little factory was making them one at a time, bringing them over. But no one knew it, right? Because they were just coming from our warehouse. And you know, we were being what we will be, which is a national retail chain. 10 days into it, kids, you know, these kids show up. They want to buy a franchise. They, you know, Trace gives them my card, says, "Call this guy. He's the head cheese." I run out the door. They call me up. You know, I said, "Yeah, you're in a Salt Lake location." I said, "Sure, we sell franchises." You know, I call up the only attorney that I know. I said, "I need a franchise document." He says, "It'll take 3 months and 30 grand." I said, "I need it in 10 days for 15." He gets it in 15 days for 15. We get a franchise sold. We sell. We open a store every 2 weeks since the day that we opened our first store. We're almost at 50 stores now, and we're going to do 30 million or plus this year. That's the Lovesac story. Now this brings me, okay, and I'm going to wrap this up. Stick with me if you can. This brings me to my last point. Well, my last little string of points. My fourth little thing, as you might guess, is, well, you wouldn't guess probably, bold recognition. I get asked all the time, what is my recipe for success? And I say that it is contained in a hyphenated word, which is self-awareness. Bold self-awareness. And not just about me, not just about what I'm bad at, so I can bring in attorneys and accountants and, you know, professional retail people to make it look good, but also about the company. Now, and this is where I ask the final question. What is Lovesac? You've heard the story, and I have my opinions, but what is Lovesac? What's Lovesac? What is it? What?
Brand.
It's a brand. I like that. What else?
Product that makes people feel good.
Product that makes people feel good.
I'd say it's pretty innovative.
It's pretty innovative. If I would have asked you this question at the very beginning of the meeting, if I said, what is Lovesac, what would you have told me?
Beanbag.
There you go. Why do you think we put that poster up? It's not a beanbag, right? It's not a freaking beanbag. I'm at BYU. It is not a beanbag. It's not a beanbag company, okay? Let me tell you what Lovesac is, in fact. It has nothing to do with a beanbag at all. Number one, it's an experience. As we showed you at the very first of this thing, every time someone sat down, they smiled. How many products do that to you? The store, you go in the store, the music's a little bit too loud. Now, let me excuse the Provo store. It's a franchise, and it's a poor representation, and it's going to change this year, I promise. Go to a Salt Lake store, you can see what Lovesac really is, or go to California. But anyway, I'll just throw that out there, as brutal as that may sound. But the bottom line is, you go into the store, the music's a bit too loud, okay? It's a bit crazy. You're going like this. Everyone kind of goes like this when they come in the store because it's grooving. And when you get people going like this, how can they say no? And if you think I'm kidding, check my balance sheet. All right, one, it's an experience, okay? Number two, Lovesac is a retail concept. What's a retail concept? Put very simply, it's a store. Here's a mall, there's a store. We own that lease, okay? Beverly Center, California. Gateway Mall, Salt Lake City. Chicago, Galleria. There we are, not only in the mall, but mainline. How many retail concepts are there in the world? China, everywhere. How many? 1 million? 10 million? Think about it. From mom and pop furniture stores to the Gap. How many different kinds? 10 million. How many would the Beverly Center in California even allow into their mall? 400 maybe? How many would they allow mainline? Gap, Banana Republic, BB, Lovesac. 6 months after opening our first store, there we are. We own the lease to this ground. Once I'm in there, what can I do with that space? Exactly. I've got 1,000 people walking by a day, right? I've got great designers. I've got great products. What can I do there? Let me tell you about a little company that began this way. Their concept was to be a record store that would sell jeans. They've been around for 30 years. Who are they? The Gap. They don't sell records. They don't sell very many jeans. Mostly khakis and whites. A retail concept, man, with the right design and the right creativity, can do whatever it wants once it captures that real estate. Number three, Lovesac, someone said it, is a brand. How do I know this? I know this because we sell, as many hoodies as we do Lovesacs. I know this because when we're talking about promotional vehicles, someone says, let's wrap a Hummer, let's wrap a truck, let's wrap a car, let's wrap this. And someone says, let's wrap a 50-foot limousine, right? So that when we show up in an event, it's like, yeah, Lovesac's here. 50-foot limousine will Austin power the thing out. There will be a 300-pound driver named Bubba, honks the horn, La Cucaracha plays, Lovesac's all the way through it, and Pimp and Ho costumes in the trunk. That'll be a Lovesac mobile, right? Okay, right? We show up, it's like a 70s party. That'll be a Lovesac mobile. And I'm thinking to myself, here's the scary part. Isn't it conceivable that your little brother, your little sister, who thinks you're cool and you own a Lovesac and you're in college and been to our store and can't afford one but wants one, is going to senior prom? And they call up Diamond Limousine, they say, how much for a limousine? They say $500, but we have the Lovesac limo, it's $900. Well, what's a Lovesac limo? Well, it's 50 feet long, it's Austin powered out, there's a 300-pound driver named Bubba in the front, you honk the horn, the Cucaracha plays, Lovesac's all the way through, Pimp and Ho costumes in the trunk. Isn't it conceivable that they might actually rent that thing with all of their friends and take it to the prom and drive it around the city and pay me to drive my logo around the city? See what I mean? Would you rent a Coca-Cola limousine? So who's got the world brand? Truth is, Lovesac is a brand and it's here to stay. 4, Lovesac is a corporation. And this is my last point. It's a group. What's the definition of a corporation, business majors? What's the definition? A legal entity that you design to shelter the constituencies or whatever, right? This is what I say a corporation is in my definition. A corporation is a group of people. It's a group of people who know how to run, 500 retail stores, who know how to franchise, who know the law, who know accounting, who know design. It's a group of people. And with that group of people, what can I do? Whatever I want. And that's the beauty of a business, and that's the beauty of Lovesac. Look, I don't claim any genius in Lovesac. As you can see from my story, it's a total accident. The only genius that I claim, if any, is the willingness, and I mean willingness, to be boldly self-aware, to boldly recognize what it has become despite me, and then to capitalize on that. And to finally get to be what I am. After all that hard work and foam grinding, I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I love my job. More than that, I love the people around me. And I'm just grateful to be here. And I'll just leave this with you, that there is always a way. There is always a way. Thank you very much for listening.